Thanks a ton. Thank you. Thank you, Ari. Nehemia Klugman, Nick Klugman, I'm unmuting you. How are you, Nehemia?
Good, I'm awesome, Rabbi. How are you?
Excellent. Are you
Awesome.
driving or you're a passenger?
I'm a passenger, thank God. We all are in Hashem's world. We're just passengers.
Good call. Good call. Have a safe trip. Thanks for being here, Nehemia. Thank you, Chevra, for being here. Thank you, Aviatz. How are you, Avila?
I'm
Nice
good,
to
Rabbi.
see you.
Thank you. I see.
How's everything?
Everything's great. Baruch Hashem.
Fantastic, fantastic. You're in Reb Baron's share now, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Ashrecha, continued atzlacha. Thank you for being here, Avi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shimi, thank you for being here. Thanks a lot. Excellent, excellent. Nachi, thank you so much for being here. Irving, thank you for being here. Yosef, thank you for being here. Excellent, Yosef Mammon, thank you. Levi Perlman, thank you. Good to see you, Levi. Thank you. Rabbi say we're going to have on in a few minutes. We're going to have Rabbi Sonnenschein's going to come on Be'ez Hashem at 2:10. I wanna speak about a topic very briefly by way of introduction of Rabbi Sonnenschein. I want to talk about a topic in last week's parsha. In Parshas Bahar, it spoke about the Isser Darais of Ainoas Dvarim. V'loisainu ish es amisai. There's an Isser Darais of Ainoas Dvarim. Not to say something hard to a person that causes them pain. And there are many, many halachas of Ainoas Dvarim. We have spoken in Yeshiva, the Shaila, the Gemara tells us in Bab Metzia, the Mishnah, you're not allowed to speak about a person's previous deeds. You're not allowed to make fun of a person. You remember what you once did? It's an Isser Darais of Ainoas Dvarim. What we have said in Yeshiva, often at the Siyumim, we're in the middle of Siyum season, so often at the Siyum, and a Mazel Tov to Azi Stillman, who made a Siyum on Masechtas Megillah yesterday, Aiki and Yaakov, Kalish, who made a Siyum on Tamid yesterday. So we're in the middle of Siyum season, Mayor Davidson. At the Siyumim, guys like composing songs and raps and rhymes, and the halacha is as follows, and I was thrilled. I felt this psak, and I saw Rav Shlomo Zalman Baruch Shekivanti. Somebody asked Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and he said, are you allowed to speak about a bacher's past? The guys in the songs like describing the journey of their friend. Maybe they go through 9th, 10th, 11th, and sometimes maybe even bring out mistakes that were made. And the halacha Rabbi says, if the past is mentioned, in order to bring out, look how much they've grown and steig the kiddush shamayim, so that's not Ainoas Dvarim. That's not painting somebody. You're only mentioning the past by way of bringing out how much they've grown and they steig. If, however, we're mentioning the past to make fun of somebody, to doubt their accomplishments of now, to challenge who we think they are now, that is an Isser Daraisa. Somebody just ate chazer. Somebody just did an Isser Daraisa, chas v'shalom, to bring up things of the past, to knock. If it's just a way of bringing out how special the great Kiddush Shamayim of their journey, so then it could be mentioned. I've allowed in the past guys in yeshiva in the songs to bring out, of course, it always must end with the great successes of now. It must be focused on the great successes of now. Anything that's brought up of the challenges of the past is only bringing out how much growth, how much steiging, how much Kiddush Shamayim. So that is tak allowed. Irving Carey pointed out that the siyum of somebody else's Masechta belongs to us all. He's accurate, Rabbeinu Yoina. It belongs to us. Thank you for remembering that, Irving. But I want to share with the Chevra about this topic of Ainoas Dvarim, of not paining people, of not causing tsar. And there's a whole sugya of Ainoas Dvarim. There's a great story with the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish once saw that a kid was doing something, was a Safek Muksa. It's a Safek Yisr Rabbanan. And he saw a father undress, embarrass his kid, rip him, really rip the kid. The Chazon Ish said to the father, that your son, it's a suffix if he did an Issa D'Rabbanan. We're not chas v'shalom to do an Issa D'Rabbanan. It's a suffix. He said that, I'm not sure, the Chazon Ish said, if your kid did an Issa D'Rabbanan, I'm not sure. But that you did an Issa D'Oraisa v'Noas Dvarim, I'm 100% sure. That's what the Chazon Ish told the father who yelled at his son and embarrassed his son and didn't work on his midas. He said, your son, I'm not sure if he did an Issa D'Rabbanan. That you did an Issa D'Oraisa, I'm positive. We have to be so careful not to be mitzar, not to cause somebody pain with our words, to speak sweetly and kindly. We have to be careful, I know, Astvarim, but that's not what I'm talking about in the introduction to my Sonnenschein. I'll tell you what I'm getting at. I learned the Gemara with Manny and Yaakov, our Chabrusa Shaf, Yankiv, myself, and Menachem. We learned the Gemara Daf Tzadi Beis in Baba Kama. In Baba Kama Tzadi Beis, so it describes Avimelech. Avimelech, so we know that he took away Sarah from Avram Avinu. And Hashem punished Avimelech that he couldn't have children. So Avimelech said, what are you punishing? What are you punishing me for? Avimelech said, that I can't have children. What are you punishing? It's Avram Avinu's fault. Avram Avinu said, what do you want me? Avram said it's his sister. I didn't know it was his wife. So Hashem, ultimately, it's a arichas in the Gemara. I want to get to Rabbi Sonnenschein. But what the Gemara says is Hashem says to Avimelech, Gemara Tzadi Beis in Baba Kama, that it's your fault. Because when he came to the city, and you're supposed to ask a guest. Avram shows up with Sarah, with his wife, to the city, and you're supposed to ask him, do you want food? Do you want drink? Are you hungry or thirsty? And instead you asked him, is this your wife? You asked about the girl. Is it your wife? Is it your sister? You have no derech eretz. It's inappropriate behavior. And Avram Avinu saw your inappropriate behavior and was afraid and felt he had to say achaisihi, because you didn't have derech eretz. And therefore Avimelech deserved to be punished. And says the Gemara Tzadi Beis in Baba Kama, Mikan leben noyach shenerach shehoya lo lilmod v'lo lamad. It's a tain on him, even though the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim says a guy is not punished for the Zayin mitzvahs if he's shoygig, if it's an accident. But that's only if he didn't know that, let's say he didn't know the person was an Eishes Ish. So that shoygig is not Chayiv Misa. But if he knew it's an Eishes Ish and he didn't know the halacha, Haya loy lilmod, he's Chayiv Misa, he should have learned it. Says the Gemara Tzadi Beis, it's a Taina Avimelech Simchas Pern, that he should have learned derech eretz. Haya loy lilmod derech eretz. He should have learned the norms, how to speak to guests. He could say, what do you want? I'm a shaygig. I'm a grubber person. I don't know how to speak to guests. It's a taina on him that he should have learned how to speak to guests. I want to say, Rabbi, that there's a tremendous pride in the yeshiva that people care about derech eretz. I'm going to call it that it's a cool chevra, that people know how to deal with others. And there's a dagesh in yeshiva, understanding ourselves, understanding others, understanding human interactions. A person's obligated to be worldly in this sense. A person's obligated as an Isser D'Oraisa v'Noas Dvarim, of not causing tsar, not causing pain to the zulas. Our obligation is to understand ourselves, to understand others. It gives me great pride that the Chevra has that social awareness of understanding delicate inyanim, to try our best. We can't just say, I don't know how to interact, and then say mean things and hurtful things. We must, yes, understand the next person, understand ourselves. I want to say that Rabbi Sonnenschein has changed my life. Rabbi Sonnenschein for years has taught me my own self, how to understand myself and how to understand others better. And he's taught many, many of us, our Talmidim, have learned tremendous Torah from Rabbi Sonnenschein, and as well learned about understanding ourselves through eyes of honesty, understanding others in ways that allow us, their mitzvahs, deraisas, that are totally, that are dependent on this. And one, we're pointing out, I know Astvarim, the care we have to be not to cause sar to another Yid. And this is something where Sonnenschein has changed all our lives. We're a Musar Yeshiva and a Chabura that has an appreciation for Musar. I've been Zoicha, Simcha Spern and I have sat for a year straight learning Musar together. We care about Musar. And Rabbi Yisrael said that the number one principle of Musar is Das Atzmucha. There must be self-understanding. I must understand myself and I must understand the Zulas to interact in a beautiful, comfortable, healthy way of encouraging the next person. And I want to thank Rabbi Sonnenschein Shlita all the years for being a Rebbe who has taught me so much about myself, who has taught me so much about understanding others. And I speak on behalf of many, many of the Chevra who have been Talmidim to learn his precious Torah, Rebbe's precious Torah, and to be impact to understand ourselves and others more. Without further ado, it's my honor to introduce Rabbi Sonnenschein. Thank you for being here and taking time out. I think you're on mute, Rabbi Sonnenschein. I'm going to mute myself. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. First of all, if I had known that Yosef Kasper would be on, I would have been a little more nervous to join. He's been trying to reach me, and I've been avoiding his calls, not for any reason, but just that's life. And now I'm looking at him and reminding myself how badly I have to call him. So Yosef will be in touch. Shkoyach for the opportunity. I want to take a little bit of a risk, if it's okay, Rabbi Kalish. I want to take I want to do something that probably if I was teaching someone how to speak, I would advise against. Okay, I would advise against joining a shir that goes on every day through a virus, through this type of crisis that there's a virtual yeshiva, and speaking about the coronavirus. I would never do that because we're sick of it already. We're ready. We're done. We're ready to move on. And it's a little bit risky because you run the risk of saying things that have been said. How much has been said already? You run the risk of saying what's been said. However, I have an old minhag with Rabbi Kalish to talk about Mishalim. We have this mashal appreciation that we share. And I want to challenge myself that even though this has been going on for 10 weeks or however long it's been, I want to challenge myself to say something that has not been said. And I'll have to leave Rabbi Kalish to be the judge of that. But I want to suggest an understanding of something through this magefa, through this virus, that I think is very valuable. And the truth is, it's a little embarrassing for me. I realized when I was researching it that I had misunderstood a chazal for my entire life, a very famous, maybe even close to cliche chazal I misunderstood for my entire life until this year. And by learning, I read a book a few months ago when the virus started. So I did a little research, which I like to do, keeps me grounded. And I found that 102 years ago, there was a flu that went through the entire world. It was a pandemic. It's good to see you, Yaakov. It's been a while. So there was a pandemic, the Spanish flu, 102 years ago, and it went through the entire world. It came in 3 waves, and I bought a book that describes what happened then, which is frighteningly similar to a lot of the things going on now, and the science of how a virus works. And when I learned the science of how a virus works, I suddenly understood a chazal, and embarrassingly, I understood a chazal in a way that I never understood it before. And I looked it up in the Siddur of Rav Kook, and I found that I was mechavid, that the science of the virus does give us proper hadracha, how to understand this chazal. So now that I arouse Rabbi Kalish's curiosity, the Mabit, when he talks about magefas, viruses, diseases, so he says that there's a segula to say the Ketores, the parsha of the Ketores. So all the spices that were used in creating that reach nichayach, that beautiful smell in the Beis Hamikdash, is an inyan to say the Ketairos, because we know that in the Midbar, when there was a Magefa, the Ketairos was oitzer, the Magefa. So therefore, the Mabit suggests that a person say the Ketairos, and he says a few interesting things about it. But he says that if a person says the parsha of the Ketairos, then I see someone's asking where the Mabit is. It's in Perek Tez Zayin. There's a Sefer Beis Elokim by the Mabit, and in the beginning he has a few prakim on Tefillah, and in Perek Tez Zayin he says this. There's a few pages there about Magefas. It's a very interesting Perek to learn, and it's a chizuk. It's a very geshmaka Perek. Anyway, so I was mystified. What does Ketairos have to do with Magefas? And I wasn't happy with silly comparisons. I want something real, some meat. I want a real comparison. What does the Ketairos have to do with a virus? Now, the thing we know about the Ketairos, the famous medrash about the Ketairos, which I now realize that I completely misunderstood, is the inyan of the chelbana. We know that there were Yud Aleph Samamonim, there were 11 spices. We know that 10 of them smell delicious, and the 11th, the chelbana, didn't smell good. And yet, it was still mitzaref to the Ketairos, and in my silly, immature, babyish way of understanding it, I always understood that you see from there that even someone who's not on such a high madrega could be included with the tzibur. That type of thing. Boy, was I mistaken. And when I learned a little bit about how a virus works, it started to come together for me. I think this is a dvar emes. Viruses, apparently, based on my research, cannot reproduce on their own. They're not capable of it. So if a virus would just spread on its own, it would just die. The way the virus works, and particularly the way the coronavirus works, is that it goes into the cells of a person, it hijacks the cell, it rips a hole in it, it has spikes on the end of it, it rips a hole in the outside of the cell, it infiltrates the cell, and it takes over the cell, it hijacks the cell. And the way it's able to reproduce is by hijacking and using the cells of a person, and then suddenly out of that person bursts out millions or hundreds of thousands of copies of the virus. Unbelievable. In other words, the virus itself is not dangerous. It's nothing. It's just what it does to the cell that turns the cell into the danger. It makes the cell dangerous. That's where Magefa comes from. But then I started to think back to the Chelbana, and I found this mefurish in Rav Kook's Siddur on the Parsha of the Ketairos. You could look over there. He says it mefurish. We were mistaken. The Chelbana does not have a bad smell. It just was not in the right place. The Chelbana, he says, when it's mixed with the other 10 spices, it's not the pshat like I thought childishly that we kind of overpower the bad smell and now there's a good smell altogether. No, when we put the chelbana with the other spices, you know what happens? The chelbana itself is moisif, a positive and beneficial smell of its own. And the Ketairos would not smell that good without the chelbana. The chelbana is not the apologetic sam of the Ketairos. It's not the one that we apologize for. The chelbana is moisif, a good smell. It just needs to be in the right place. So that's what occurred to me, that the connection between the Ketairos and the virus is that just like we find by the virus that be'etzim the cells of a person are good cells. They want to bring a person weiter, but it could be hijacked and used in ways that the person never intended. That's what the chelbana is. The chelbana is a positive, good smell that was hijacked. It was not in the right place. In a regular environment, it doesn't have that type of reyach. Put it with the other 10 samimanim, not the pshat. I feel so embarrassed. I thought we overpower the smell of the chelbana. It's so silly now that I think about it. Rabbi Kalish is pashut like that, right? It's pashut. We're not overpowering the smell of the chelbana. We need the chelbana. The chelbana is a necessary part of the ketores. It's just that until it's with the other 10 samimanim, we weren't able to see that cell, that kayach, kipshuta, in the way that it really is. But that's the idea, and I think that it's a mashal that's so important, especially for, I think about myself. So I think about you talk about understanding yourself. So I think about myself. So I have things about myself that I like, and I have things about myself that I really don't like. I have things about myself that I'm not embarrassed to talk about, and they're midos that I feel good about, and then I have midos inside of me that I hope that nobody ever finds out about. I realize that we're looking at it wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't hand us bad midos. We have to find, Rabbi Kalish, I remember you saying about, probably goes back over 15 years ago, I remember you saying that people aren't bad at their jobs. They have the wrong job. I remember you saying that nekuda. If someone is in the wrong place, they're not going to do the job right. You have to find the right job for the right person. Right? We've discussed that several times. That's the vart with the kaiches of a person also. If I have a midah that's negative, maybe it's not negative. Maybe it's just not in the right place. Maybe I have to be creative and clever and thoughtful and figure out how to be mechaven in a way that it could become the chelbana. And the chelbana is be'etzem a davar tov. And that, I think, is the virus, Baruch Hashem, we're not hearing so much about people sick like we were a few weeks ago. But just the very fact that the Durham campus is closed means we're still suffering from the virus. It doesn't matter if it's the physical, it's machnashtais, it's the effects of it. And that means that the lessons that it has to offer us, we should still be listening to. I'm not darshaning, that I heard a vart, something I saw in a sefer. I'm telling you, look at the science of the virus. The science is that cells are good unless they're hijacked. And I need to remember that about myself. I'm also good unless I'm hijacked. And my midas are good unless they're hijacked. And my job is to find a makom where it can thrive. That's my obligation. And I think that that's something that we could maybe take advantage of, the extra time that we have on, you talk about understanding yourself, to try to find it in ourselves. One more mashal. There's actually, I have another coronavirus mashal. I'll tell you briefly, and then I'll get to the mashal that I also wanted to share with you. With the virus, those of you that know what's going on, so they told us that some people are more at risk than others. But the MS is that we don't really know. It's very mysterious. My wife just told me a few minutes ago about an 89-year-old woman that just came out of the hospital. She's fine. Rabbi Kalish, you probably heard that story 100 times, stories like that. There were also people that were older that were in tremendous sakana. But was there any way to predict? There's no prediction. Young people, there's no so there were statistics. But the etzem on each person that got the virus, we had no idea what was going to be. I love that mashal. I'll tell you why I love the mashal. Because, and I'm right now, by the way, I'm not in my office at home. I'm right now in my mind, I'm on the back table in the Beis Medrash in Durham. So if you hear the way I'm talking, that's what it is. Like I'm a little bit looking around. I feel transported there. So I grew up. I was a very, very good yeshiva bacher, a very, very good bacher. But there were worlds of things going on inside of me that nobody knew. And nobody knew. And sometimes someone would say something and I would fly off the handle and they didn't know why. Sometimes someone would say something and I would be unbelievably inspired and moved. And other guys that were in my chevra, it didn't inspire them. because I had my experiences that nobody knew, just me. And because of the experiences that I had, I reacted to things in ways that nobody could predict. And that was when I saw that you have a virus. It's a dangerous thing. And some people are affected very deeply. And some people could have it and be positive and they have antibodies and they didn't even know they had it. What a lesson for us in not judging other people. What a lesson for us in not judging a book by its cover. And you know how many times I was misjudged in my life? I cannot even count. I was misjudged as being much, much, much simpler and easier than what was really going on. And the mashal, I feel, is a very, very powerful mashal. When you have something that's going on and something that's going around, so we don't have a right to bavar and how something's going to affect another person. We don't know. We don't know what's tamun, what's hidden inside the heart of a person. We have no idea. That's my second coronavirus mashal. One last, I'm seeing so many familiar faces that I mamish feel moved. It was unbelievable to see everyone. One last mashal. Let me share one last mashal that's not directly related. It's not a virus mashal. It's an old mashal. Some of you may remember this mashal from years ago. This is an old mashal, but it's a good one. And I recently brought it back to life because I started to, Rabbi Kalish could tell you that I started to send out weekly letters to the community to try to be mechazik people, because people feel like they feel a little bit directionless and lonely. So I try to be mechazik people. And over the week, I try to listen to what people are saying that's bothering them and to try to address those things to be mechazik. And one of the things that's very, very difficult is that, and I'm sure all of you feel it, I know I feel it, is that we have no idea what tomorrow is going to look like. There's a certain uncertainty. You know, Rabbi Kalish, when is yeshiva opening?
I don't know. Good question.
You know, I don't know. Not only when is it opening, where is it opening? We don't know. There's so much that we don't know. And that type of thing, yeshiva, that's not even an example. That's not a mashal. That's a nimshal. Because for boys that are part of the Mesivta, that are there now, we're talking about their home. It's their home. It's like, where is home going to be tomorrow? It's a major thing. I am at home, but I still feel it. My whole life is on the computer. My kids are home. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of raw feelings. People are stressed out. It's uncertain times. And I wanted to find a way to be mechazik people, how to go through life without worrying about tomorrow. And this is an old mashal. Rabbi Kalish, you for sure heard this from me, but I enjoyed, I wrote it out 2 weeks ago, and I want to share it with the Olam because it gave me so much chizuk, so I wanted to share it. The mashal is the color by number. That's the mashal. And you remember that mashal? You do? So as I've used it for one or two different things, but you'll hear where it is for Benagea to this. So what's color by number? Let's just make sure everybody knows. So color by number means, and they have it now, if any of you are artistic, it's you can get now paint by number. You can get online that they have very, very, very complex pictures that you could paint by number. You could make beautiful, beautiful paintings. But the pshat is that you get a paper or a canvas, and there's just strange shapes on it. That's all. There's just strange shapes and beautiful. That's nice. Maybe you are artistic. Anyway, so you have all these, and you don't necessarily know what the picture is. You just have shapes. So what do? There's a code. Each code has a color attached to it. You have your paints or your magic markers or your colored pencils or whatever it is, and 1 is blue, and 2 is red, and 3 is green, and 4 is yellow, or whatever it is, and you follow the numbers and you fill it in. When you're finished, like the painting you just saw, when you're finished, you step back and you see something breathtaking, and you had no idea what you were doing. You just knew that you had to carefully fill this shape with this color, especially the way a lot of people do it. A lot of people will go all over the painting and will paint all the brown. So you're mamish making strange shapes all over the painting. You have no idea what you're doing. Then you do all the yellow. You have no idea what you're doing. And by the time you're done, you step back and you chop the oimik of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful painting. So I wanted to suggest that we look at our lives this way. We have no idea what tomorrow brings. We have no idea. It's uncertainty. And there's an anxiety to uncertainty. But sometimes for me personally, it helps my anxiety to remind myself that all I need to do now is fill this shape with today's color. For me today, that means to be right here talking to you, that you're part of today's color. And every day, I don't have to know what's going to be tomorrow. I don't even have to spend that much time thinking about what was yesterday. Yesterday's color was yesterday's color. I have to color today's color. What does Hashem want from me today? What is Hashem's agenda for me today? How do I figure that out? It's a mixture of me understanding myself and me looking around and seeing where Hashem placed me. You know, imagine you have a let's just a mushal to understand what I mean. Let's say you have a doctor, okay? So the doctor decides he's been working very, very, very hard. He decides he needs a vacation. So he flies to Cancun and he spends a week there. He shows up at a resort and 5 people get sick at the resort. And people come over to him and say, "You're a doctor. Can you please help?" So he says, "I'm sorry, I'm on vacation now. I understood that Hashem wanted me to take a vacation." They're like, "Rabbi, there are sick people here. Please help them." Look, this is my vacation time. This is a toast. Part of understanding what Hashem wants from me is look around. If you're a doctor and there's a sick person here, maybe think again about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to do. Maybe think again. Many of us are finding ourselves at home now. You know, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to keep my kids out of my study. Shaita. I'm talking to myself, not to you. Hashem sent me to my house. My kids live here. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe he wanted me to spend more time with them. Sometimes we get so caught up in what we thought we were supposed to do that we're not aware and alive to what's right here in front of us. We have a job to do right now. My kid walks in and I'm throwing her out because I thought, well, there's a kid right here in the house that I'm in. Hashem put me here. It wasn't my plan to be here. I was supposed to be working. So that's part of what we mean by coloring the number, by coloring the shape. Every day is its own shape. Look around at the day. See what the day is about. You know, imagine you see a guy. You know, there are bachrim that I'm seeing on here that are big masmidim. So imagine you would take a tremendous masmid, and he would go to visit his grandparents. Many of us can't visit our grandparents now. He would go to visit his grandparents, and he's in his grandfather's house, and he's learning from a Gemara the entire time. He's nice. It's a nice color, but it's not today's shape. That color was for yesterday's shape and maybe for tomorrow's. But today's shape is spend time with your grandfather and learn. That's today's shape. So it's not just being an automatic pilot. It's being alert and being awake and recognizing my kaiches, like we said before about the chelbana, recognizing my kaiches and looking where HaKadosh Baruch Hu put me and memela what he wants from me. I'm really, really, really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share some thoughts. I haven't opened up and spilled out like that in many, many weeks. So Yasher Koach for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rabbi Sonnenschein, a lot. Delightful, and we see what we were missing so much of. if I can ask Rabbi Sonnenschein that the Ghooris want to sing a song for you, at least I'm going to ask them to do it. If we could sing one song before, just to really thank you on behalf of the Chevra.
Please, please.
I'm going to find Shlomo and Chaim. I hope that together we'll find out. I'm looking, I'm sorry, Rabbi Sonnenschein. Let's check the last page. Shlomo and Chaim, thank you for raising your hand. Chaim and Shlomo, thank you. Could we do a Shira Lashem for Rabbi Sonnenschein?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'd love to. Shkoyach, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Good to
Thank you.
See you as well.
I want to show Chaim and Shlomo, Rabbi Sonnenschein, they sang this for us during this time. They've encouraged us. Maishi made them a picture on behalf of the Olam to thank them. Here is the picture.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's amazing.
That was a little T4 in Chaim to show Sonnenschein that. But let's do the song for Rabbi Sonnenschein before we thank him for coming.
Shira Hashem b'chayai v'zamra l'lokai b'yadi hayera v'alav sichi anoichi esmach v'Hashem Ashira Hashem b'chayai Ma'azamra l'lokai b'yadi Hayera v'alav sichi Anoichi esmach v'Hashem Itamu chataim min haaretz Urishayim aydeinam Ay 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 barchi nafshi Es Hashem Hallelujah Itamu chataim min haaretz Urishayim aydeinam Ay 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 barchi nafshi Es Hashem Hallelujah.
Thank you, Chaim. Thank you, Shlomo. Thank you very much, Rabbi Sonnenschein, for coming on and sharing the Divrei Torah. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Chaim and Shlomo, outstanding. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Say. I wanna say, Rabbi Say, that we always enjoy Rabbi Sonnenschein's Mishalim, the parables that Rabbi Sonnenschein gives. There's such a clarity, such a clear, powerful understanding. Mishalim are not a rabbinic trick. It's not a trick of rabbis like good for a speech to give some parable. Mishalim is the power of tzir, a visual. In Kelm, they said the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha is how much a person can use tzir, can use visual. That's the separates a tzaddik from a rasha. Take the things around us in our life and utilize it to understand things and see things. That is the great power of visual. I want to close out today, Rabbi Say. It is late here. I want to close out today really the idea we started with, that we spoke about Einas Dvarim. There's an Isser Daraisa to hurt other people and to say hurtful things. And the importance, we're human beings, and sometimes we try our best and still make a mistake. But the importance of being somebody who understands their environment, their halachos and dinim, how to speak about another person. It always amazes me when the malachim came to speak to Avram Avinu. They asked, Ayeh Sarah Ashtecha, where's Sarah, your wife? And Avram Avinu says, Hinei ba'ayil. Avram Avinu is reminded by the angels that Sarai Menu is ba'ayil. He's reminded of her tzneus. And the angels purposely said words that brought out Avram should appreciate his spouse. The importance, Abacha is invited to his friend's house. Does he bring his friend closer to his parents? You know how powerful it is. You're invited for a Suda by your friends, and you point out to your friend how amazing your dad is. Your dad is, and you point out something real, something you saw. Your friend maybe is used to his dad. You point out, it's so cool the way your father sings. It's so cool the way, and you bring your friend closer to his dad. You speak to your friend's parents, and you speak to them how much you appreciate your friend, and you have them appreciate your friend more. It's so important to recognize our environment, to know the impact of what we're saying and what we're doing. Today we're Zaycha Yitz Shoshan, our Tayyar Chaver, his chasnas today, Baruch Hashem, his chasnas b'shot tova mitzlachas. Rabbi say, a Chaver gets up to speak at his friend's Sheva Brachas. A girl does not know, a Kala does not know her husband at the time of the Sheva Brachas. And a friend gets up and he thinks he's humorous and he knocks the chassan in ways that he doesn't know. The Kala doesn't know her chassan yet. And 6 months later, she's still unsure about her chassan, and the mean line the friend says comes in her mind. The mean line, maybe it's true, maybe that, how careful we have to be with our words. Our words are powerful. Chaim v'amavis b'yad halashon. What I'm talking about today is understanding people, understanding situations. It's good to be funny. It's actually a very positive. If a chaver gets up and he's hilarious and he praises the chassan in a brilliant way, he pashut raises the esteem. The Kala's whole family says, wow, what a guy. Just look at his friends. It tells about the guy. He must be such a class act. He has such articulate friends, such intelligent friends, such talented friends. It raises up the feelings about the chassan. How many chasnas, Yitz Shoshan has come to many of our weddings and sang. With such kindness, he's come to weddings and sang many of our weddings. It has me concerned, Rabbi says, certainly we have to keep all the laws. We're mechoyev avada dina de malchus dina. All the laws must be kept. But it concerns me that when we think about our friend's chasna, I don't want this to change our thought process. So now we're very worried for myself. I don't want to be on the front page of the Times. If I should go to my friend's wedding, am I going to get busted? Not avada, do the halacha. Keep the law of the land, most certainly. But think about your chaver. Think about your friend. A chaver goes to his friend's wedding and is there and celebrates how much he can do, how much he can accomplish. I'm worried that the story is going to become now when we think about chasnas. We're going to think so much about ourselves. Somebody goes to be Menachem Avil. He could spend the whole time, I'm so uncomfortable. What do I say? How do I look? He looks in a mirror before to make sure he looks sad enough. Stop thinking so much about yourself. Understand the person, the situation. Understand the matzid you're coming into. This is all part of the chiyuv. I want to point something out about Rabbi Sonnenschein. He came on today, spoke beautifully. He said, and listen, you got a glimpse into his thought process. He said, I want to give a mashal about Corona. And he said, you've been together, Chevra, for 10 weeks, and you've probably discussed it. Do I really have what to add or not? Is it a topic that's already run dry? You got a glimpse into his mind. He just told us what he was thinking this morning. He's saying, hey, I'm going on to a Zoom share. They've been together for a few months. He went through a process thinking about me and you. By the way, that's one of the things that makes him such a great speaker, because he understands situations. So he thought, somebody gets up, I have a nice word to share. Did you think who's the crowd? What have they been doing? What's been? So he had a question to himself. If I speak about Corona, hey, maybe they spoke about it already. And then he thought through it, had a certain chiddush he wanted to share and did it. But the understanding of others in our environment. I don't just not apologize that we have the coolest guys in the world. Bless your souls. Don't ever stop being cool. I have told Bachram, and they think I'm joking, I have warned Yosef Mammon, and I thank him that he's kept to it, that in all your asmada and steiging and keep finishing Masechtas, you better stay cool. I've told Avi Wolaski and I've told Mayor Davidson. So guys start laughing like you're joking around. You better stay cool. I'm not such a funny guy. I wasn't trying to be funny. When I say you better stay cool, I'm saying something. I'm saying with all the limud Torah, with all the steiging, you must never cease to understand your environment. You must constantly understand the people around you, their needs, their matzib. There's big decisions going on in Klal Yisrael when we should return to the shuls. And it takes an understanding of you. There's three factors. The halacha, first and foremost. There's the medical considerations that must be considered. And how people feel matters. And understanding how people feel. Right? Sonnenschein described we're all home. We must understand ourselves and how others understand and how others are feeling. We must understand that. When we ask the guys to stay cool, and you're the coolest chevra, and I love you and appreciate how cool you are, and will never apologize for your coolness. Please don't either, and please don't lose it. Because the obligation, Rabbi say, the obligation of Torah is to be a person who understands his environment. We are not a people that celebrate a person who is not worldly. It's probably an avera. To be a person who just doesn't understand things. So you walk in a store and you say an insulting thing to the cashier. That's an avera. It's called Ainoas Dvarim. The obligation. Avimelech could have said, I'm not such a worldly guy, God. I don't know Derech Eretz. The Gemara Baba Kama says Avimelech was punished. You have an obligation to understand the world. It's a Gemara Mefureshes, Sadi Beis and Baba Kama. Says Rashi. He's mechoyev to understand the ways of the world. He didn't behave and understand Derech Eretz, so then he deserves the einish and needs to do tshuva. Our obligation is to steig, grow, get involved in Torah, and an understanding of all the people around us so we can apply the Torah, so we can keep the Torah. And I want to thank the Olam for being such understanding, sensitive, thoughtful people who get it, who know the people around them. All of us should continue steiging, learning, growing, and understanding everybody around us. The Chiyuv Ainoas Dvarim is a very sensitive and delicate mitzvah, not to insult and hurt, not to say comments to somebody that's insulting. It requires a very, very narrow person and not understanding person could read this law of Ainoas Dvarim. Do you realize it obligates you to be cool? In English, if I was translating Art Scroll, when it says Lo Yisainu, I would write, one is obligated to be cool. It means you have to understand your environment, people you're around, to be sensitive to your 8-year-old sister and to your 19-year-old brother, to your mama, to your tata, to your baba, to your zayda, to your grandchildren. That's the chiyuv Ainoas Dvarim. You can't cause sar and fear. By the way, if somebody fear mongers today, it's open in the place. There's halacha. Do you know if you cause people to be more anxious and scared that you're over Ainoas Dvarim, it's a din. You know, it's eating chazer. If somebody's a fearmonger today and causes people excessive fear, I want to say something honestly, that somebody asked me that we get together so many B'nai Torah, why didn't we say Tillim daily? I said to the person, I mean this, that we're a chabura, I want each one in a bunker to be somebody who uplifts and brings chizuk. Of course we say Tillim, but I together want to come together to be mechazik, that we uplift the matziv in our bunkers. I would worried if we would say Tillim every day, it would make a person feel a sense of a yiyush, a sense down, and we have to have chizuk and strength. Oinos Dvarim obligates a person, Daraisa, to understand people around them. If there's an Issa Daraisa not to cause fear, so somebody doesn't understand people and says negative words under the guise of Torah, knocks and rips a tzibur and puts down a tzibur. It's one shtick, Oinos Dvarim. A person gets up, it could be a Heilige Rav, and knocks the tzibur, Oinos Dvarim, is mitzayir against the tzibur, Aveirus Chamuris, Isurim Daraisa. Now it's a shaygeg. I just don't understand people. I don't know the way they think, so it's b'shaygeg. I know astvarim hayalay lilma. You mechoyev to learn. We must understand the people around us and how to lift them up and how to encourage them. We're obligated. Always strive and make sure that as much as you're steiging and growing, you're understanding, because we have to keep the laws of the Torah. Rabbi, I continue to uplift the people in your bunkers, the people around you. Thank you, Grandma. It means so much that you come and you bring Avi along with you. Thank you very, very much for being. Let's get a bracha. I'm unmuting. How are you, Grandma?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you. Very, very good.
Ex Hashem should continue to give you strength and to keep you so young and energetic. Thank you.
Oh, amen, amen. And you should keep on doing what you're doing, because it's marvelous. It's absolutely marvelous. These boys are so lucky. They're so lucky that you lead them, and me too, actually. I look forward every day till the next day to hear what you have to say.
It means so much. It means so much. I'm thankful Hashem made a whole situation in the world, and we got to study Torah together with you. It really means a lot. Thank you.
To me too. Have a wonderful day. You should be healthy, and your family should be healthy, and we should just keep on studying together and listening to you. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Everybody should have an outstanding, outstanding day. Be'ezer Hashem. We will learn Avos tonight at 8:30 with the Avos shir. I did want to just, in terms of everybody's schedule, we will go Be'ezer Hashem until Shavuos with the two shiurim, the 2 o'clock and 8:30. And then we're going to reorganize. A lot of people's schedules, including my own, are changing between Mincha and Ma'ariv, moving around different times. Be'ezer Hashem, Minyanim starting to open up. So we'll announce and we'll figure out together. I'll try to speak to some of the Chevra. We'll see when Simcha, this like belongs to Simcha and Vigi, the Matziv. We'll all figure it out together. We will be stopping Avos on Shavuos. We'll learn Be'ezer Hashem until the entire next week, Be'ezer Hashem. We will be stopping Avos and switching the Limud after Shavuos. The exact times we'll learn will Be'ezer Hashem be Mefaris and then. Thank you so much. Have an outstanding day, Rabbi Say.